Sometimes after separation or during ongoing co-parenting conflict, the child slowly begins hearing one parent talk about the other in ways that feel different than before. It may sound like disappointment, frustration, or repeated comments that quietly change how the child begins seeing the other parent. At first, the child may not question it. They simply trust the adult they depend on. Over time, however, those repeated messages can begin shaping the child's understanding of someone they love. This is often where the pattern begins changing from adult conflict to the child's view of the other parent. For some adults, hearing about the other parent may bring up feelings of hurt, rejection, anger, or unresolved emotional pain. Instead of processing those feelings themselves, they may begin expressing them through conversations with the child. For some adults, influencing the child's view of the other parent isn't really about helping the child understand the situation. It may become a way of protecting their own emotional position. If the child begins seeing the other parent more negatively, the adult may feel more understood, more validated, or less afraid of losing the child's loyalty. This is why an adult may gradually begin changing the child's view of the other parent. The difficulty is that the child's relationship with the other parent gradually becomes shaped by one adult's emotional needs, rather than the child's own experiences. Sometimes it happens openly, sometimes it happens very subtly. A sigh after the child's visit, a disappointed expression, a sarcastic comment, or repeatedly questioning what happened while the child was away. None of these moments may seem significant by themselves, but children learn from repeated emotional experiences. Eventually, the child begins carrying a quiet emotional burden. They may start wondering whether enjoying time with one parent is somehow hurting the other. Instead of simply forming their own relationship with each parent, they begin filtering that relationship through another adult's emotional reactions. That is what makes this pattern emotionally unfair. The child is no longer free to discover each parent through their own experiences. They slowly begin carrying opinions, worries, and emotional weight that were never theirs to carry. Some psychologists describe this as a form of loyalty pressure when it happens repeatedly. Because over time, the child's emotional needs may gradually become secondary to an adult's unresolved emotions or need for reassurance. The child is not simply hearing information. They are repeatedly learning which understanding of their family feels safest to believe. Over time, the child may begin believing those repeated emotional messages without even realizing it. Instead of asking, "What has my own experience been?" they may quietly begin asking, "What feels safest to believe?" That is often the hidden mechanism behind this pattern. The child's view is no longer shaped only by their own relationship with the other parent. It gradually becomes shaped by another adult's repeated emotional reactions. Instead of feeling free to form their own opinions, they begin watching another person's emotions before trusting what they see for themselves. Instead of simply loving both parents openly, they begin wondering whether their own experiences are even safe to believe. This quietly changes everyday life for the child. Instead of simply enjoying time with each parent, they begin comparing every experience with what they have been repeatedly told. Instead of trusting their own memories, they begin questioning whether someone else's emotional version of events must be more accurate than their own. That is what makes this pattern so emotionally difficult. The child slowly loses confidence in one of the most important parts of healthy development: learning to trust their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Some people describe this as a narcissistic family pattern when it happens repeatedly. because over time the child's emotional reality may gradually become less important than protecting an adult's emotional needs or unresolved relationship conflict. As adults, this may help explain why some people struggle to trust their own judgment, why they often seek reassurance before believing what they already know to be true, or why they second-guess their own experiences inside important relationships. In healthy co-parenting relationships, children are encouraged to build their own relationship with each parent. They are free to develop their own opinions through their own experiences. If this happens once, it may simply be a difficult moment. But when it happens repeatedly, it can gradually change how safe the child feels, trusting their own reality. Over time, the greatest loss may not have been the relationship itself. It may have been the child's opportunity to discover that relationship for themselves. Every child deserves the freedom to know each parent through their own experiences, not through another person's unresolved feelings about that relationship. Recognizing that difference may be the first step toward trusting what you have seen, felt, and experienced for yourself again. If this helped put words to your experience, like the video and subscribe to the channel. This channel exists to help you recognize narcissistic and manipulative patterns calmly, clearly, and without blame, so you can understand what is happening and trust yourself again. And when children repeatedly learn that trusting their own experiences no longer feels emotionally safe, another pattern often begins developing underneath that adaptation. Over time, they may begin acting differently depending on which parent they are with. In the next video, we'll explore why children start acting differently around one parent. Click here to watch.